Hey guys, it's Christian, your Vancouver Realtor, and the topic for today's video is the hidden dangers of virtual strata meetings. I had a chance to do my first one very recently, and I want to share with you the experience of that and what you can expect. Also, things to be aware of, especially as an investor, a homeowner. You want to be in the know on your strata, and I'm going to share some tips and strategies here for you. First thing, here's what we found. Attendance for a lot of AGMs, annual general meetings, it's once a year, of course, for your condo or townhouse complex, is generally low. It's even lower online. It seems a lot of people just drop off. I think we had 17 people come out for the meeting, and this is a building of 150 people. And in previous years, I've seen about 35 or so. So very, very low attendance, about 10%. So really, it's very disappointing to see so few people showing up at their meetings. And the second thing I wanted to say to you was that the strata managers actually, and the companies here, if they're not on the up and up, they can actually abuse this process here by shutting down discussion of touchy subjects. So you as the owner may not be able to ask all the questions you want because the strata manager can just hit the mute button. That's it. You can't talk anymore because you asked a question that, you're asking about the budget and where's the money going. So I personally think that this is not a good way to go. It's very different. Like if you're there in person, they can't hit the mute button on you. You can stand up, you can put up your hand, ask questions, follow-up questions. It's really not going to work that way online, or at least it didn't in our case. Other things that I've noticed is occasionally, depending on who your strata manager is, they may just rush through the agenda to try to get it done and over with. And doesn't leave a lot of opportunity there for the owners or investors to ask questions of how the building is managed. And you really want to make sure your building is very well run because it can make a lot of difference to your net worth. And I just found that the online version seems to, the strata manager can just stay in the dark and not even show their face on the computer screen, which is, I guess, what most people will do. And it's very easy for them and your strata council to sidestep questions, avoid them basically, because they don't want to talk about it. So you have to be aware of those things. Third thing is, I found it's different because there's only one per unit window that opens up. So if a husband and wife, maybe the wife is going to speak, the husband's not really going to have an opportunity to ask any questions, or she won't have an opportunity. Whereas if you were doing this in person, of course, both husband and wife or all the owners on title could ask some questions of the strata management company. So I'm going to tell you that in-person meetings are way, way better because you're face-to-face with the company that you've hired to run and manage your building. You're also face-to-face with the council. Usually that's about 5 to 7 people. It's a much better format for Q&A. And you can have follow-up questions. You can get into topics a little bit deeper. And the other benefit of doing it in person is you're going to be meeting a lot of other owners. And you want to be able to share information, maybe things about the community, changes that are happening in the building. It's a quick and easy way to learn. I think it's a lot of fun too. And all of that is lost when you go virtual. It's very, very different. It feels like people are in their own silos. I just think it's not a good way for us to go. So you should really be pushing and stressing to your strata council, to your strata management, that you want in-person annual general meetings, especially once the pandemic winds its way down, okay? And now you might think doing a virtual meeting is a really good idea because it allows owners who are in other parts of the country, maybe Alberta or Nova Scotia, maybe they're in Beijing or Berlin. Say, hey, that's a great idea, right? We could just, beam them in from other parts of the world. But it just seems to lead to more apathy, less participation instead of more. I think people just kind of give up and just think, oh, it's just a really boring online meeting. I can't see anybody's face. I can't really ask any questions, and they just stop. And that's results obviously in lower turnout. And I think just sometimes the strata management company can use the technology to basically to stop discussion. So why is this important? Your net worth is tied up in your investment to some degree, and so you want to have a stake. You've got skin in the game. You definitely want to attend an AGM, whether it's in person or online, and you want to ask questions. You want to make sure the building is well run, and because if it's not, it can cost you money. I'll give you a couple examples of how it can cost you money. One is that if it's very poorly run, let's say strata maintenance fees are increased too quickly, all of a sudden you may find yourself in a position where you can't sell your unit in the future. Why? Because the maintenance fees have gone up $150 a month. So that affects a buyer's ability to get money from the bank. They obviously, there's certain borrowing amounts they can get, and they may just not be able to buy your unit anymore. Another way, of course, is a bylaw change. If your strata introduced a bylaw that stopped owners from having pets, dogs, cats, or even rentals, that would immediately result in a $50,000 loss to you, the value of your unit. And so those are the kinds of things you want to be on top of. And it's very, very easy to do, guys. You just have to do two things. One, you're going to get an AGM notice, normally about 3 weeks before your annual general meeting. Read over that. It's about a 3-pager, so you know what things are proposed at the meeting. And the second step is to participate. Whether it's online or in person, absolutely get involved. Don't just sit on your hands. I don't think it's good for you. And you will end up, if you don't raise your voice, if you don't ask questions, if you're not an involved owner, you're going to end up with strata management that you're not very happy with down the road. That's just the way these things work. Now, the technology, obviously the Zoom-like meetings, although it's not a Zoom program that the management companies are going to use, because they have they have this little button where you click, where you raise your hand, or if you want to talk. I just found that it can be used in a heavy-handed way and abused. So the strata manager essentially can cut off discussion by muting you. Just clicks the mute button and your audio gets turned off and you're done. The second thing is, I mentioned before, just rushing through the agenda. I found that this meeting was, I think, about 50 to 55 minutes long. When they're in person, they tend to be 2 to 2.5 hours. A lot more discussion, a lot more learning when you're doing it face to face. And again, the online version allows council and the strata manager to sidestep questions, right, that they don't like to answer. It really allows them to control the agenda in a way they couldn't if they had to sit down with you or address you in person. So why are we seeing this? Obviously, the big issue is the pandemic, just the concerns about passing on the coronavirus, so we're doing things a lot more virtual, so that's fine. Hopefully that's a short-term measure. I would suggest to you that you you write or call your strata council and tell them you want in-person meetings. Very, very important to do that. I think the real reason why the strata companies really like this is that it's easier, it's cheaper. They don't need to come and look at you in the eyes and discuss the issues of the building face to face. I think that's unfortunately just the way it really is. And you, as an owner in the building, an investor, you deserve an opportunity to ask questions and ask questions about the bylaw changes, the budget, and anything that could affect you, obviously, as the owner, or impact on the value of the home. So that's really important. And some of the other concerns I would have with this sort of Zoom online version is that apparently, at least in our strata, the manager said it would be the council's decision whether or not meetings go back to face. So 5 people would get to make a decision for 150. I mean, that is not a really sort of democratic process. I mean, that's very top-down, heavy-handed. It's kind of a closed loop, glass ceiling sort of decision-making process. I really hope the province of BC starts to think about ways to, once the pandemic lifts, encourages people to go back to do things face-to-face. It's just healthy for civil society, and it's certainly what you want when you have maybe $1 million or more of your money in your investment. Finally, we may see, there was some talk about a hybrid model, and I guess this might be ideal. This is where you do meetings face-to-face, and then, I don't know, you zoom in different people from different parts of the world, maybe on a screen if that's set up, sure. But I think when it comes to Strata meetings, in my experience, you want to get these back face-to-face as soon as possible. I don't think the virtual version is going to be of much help to you. So if you've got any comments or questions, you can leave those below, and we'll see you next time.